Fallout 4, one of the biggest, if not the biggest video game of all time, is here now. A lot of us are hundreds of hours into it. You could probably spend the rest of your life here. But one man, and that man's name is Zach, played quite a few hours of it and then gave up forever.
We've got a successful rehabilitated Fallout addict here.
I'm recovering.
So now, Zach,
I'm in recovery.
you and I were kind of neck and neck with this game. When we got codes very early here at IGN. We played for about a week or two before the game was out.
Yeah.
And we were having this conversation back and forth a lot with each other of sort of like, how do we feel about it? Do we love it? Is it overwhelming? Is it underwhelming? Is it beautiful? Is it ugly? Like, what's going on here?
Sure.
You physically rage quit this game the other day and uninstalled it.
I did, yeah. And I'd like to preface this inaugural Up at Noon appearance by saying that I'm a huge fan of Bethesda games. I played more Fallout 3 and Skyrim than I care to admit. I mean, hundreds of hours. And I also want to say that it's okay if you don't like something that somebody else likes, because I know I'm probably going to get flamed real hard for this. But yes,
it's happening right now.
It's already. My Twitter feed is blowing
someone
up.
just called you a dangus.
real bad dangus.
A rock hit the side of our building.
No, I did rage quit Fallout 4. I did after I'd say the 5th or 6th time that I had to replay a certain part in a mission. I jumped up, popped the disc out of my PlayStation, and immediately uninstalled it to bring it back to the office. It was like, I'm done with this. I'm not interested in investing any more of my time beyond the 20 hours that I had already invested in learning anything more about that game's systems or story or really playing anything beyond what I'd already seen.
So is it the sort of gameplay loop that didn't grab you? Because I know that's what sort of put me off a little bit. Is do a mission, die horribly because everyone's overpowered, but then go out into the world and like scavenge and fight and hunt and then come back with a better weapon and take down everybody. Because I obviously see the appeal of that. That's awesome, right? But I think that I can also see the complete and total frustration in that.
It wasn't necessarily the gameplay loop because, like I said, like I like that. I like that aspect of especially like the survivalist sort of mentality of Fallout. Going into the wastelands, scavenging for things to upgrade your weapons. Like that was the one thing that I was getting really into, was like figuring out a way to build my armor and weapons in a way that would ultimately benefit me in the long run. But the way that game is laid out, first of all, they don't tell you a lot about the systems
that are
there. Like they don't yeah. Well, they don't clue you in on what's going on the back end of that game that lets you play it in a way that is constructive, right? So I feel like I repeatedly died over and over and over again, and I'm not saying that I'm one to shy away from a challenge, but just because I didn't know how exactly to play that game.
Right.
And furthermore, like the thing that actually like broke me and made me jump up and uninstall like completely, because who's to say that maybe I wouldn't have gone back to playing it someday down the road. It's so buggy. It's so glitchy, and the second or third time that I got hung up in a pile of rocks and was attacked by a group of feral ghouls and couldn't move out of like where I was standing, it's like that's a game that
there's some bugs right there.
Look at those guys. It's just a game that doesn't respect your time.
Yeah,
and that's saying something when they're like expecting you to invest hundreds of hours into exploring the wasteland.
I completely understand it. I think that like the bugs and glitches thing has been it's been an interesting conversation to have here at IGN.
Sure.
Because our reviewer Dan Stapleton didn't experience much of that at all, but a bunch of us have, and it's sort of like your manufacturer may vary type of situation. But I think that ultimately, if you are against a kind of obtuse system and you are against like arbitrary spikes in difficulty, the last thing you need on your plate is to get stuck in a tree.
Yeah.
Like that feels like of all the other things to deal with, that's the one thing that you should be able to count on. I lost like 90 minutes of playtime once because some glitch brought me back like 2 fast travels ago.
Yeah.
And you're kind of expected to quick save constantly.
Well, that's a PC mentality, right? Like that's a thing that's very common on PC. And when you're playing on console, I think that's something that people that have grown up playing console games maybe should be more attuned to when playing a game like Fallout.
So let's spin this a little positive.
Sure.
Chap001 on Twitter, that's Connor C, says, what new feature do you guys like in Fallout 4 the most?
I wasn't particularly like crazy about the town building, but I did love building out weapons. Like I did think that was really cool. I liked being able to highlight things to search for. like plastics or crystals or whatever, and then go out and find that in the wasteland and say, oh, I got that 6 crystal. Now I can upgrade my gun.
I actually found that so overwhelming.
I heard a really interesting little piece of feedback here. We actually on Podcast Beyond we were talking about gaming with kids, and somebody wrote in to say that he's got he's got a kid and he's been playing Fallout. And when the kids are around, he works on the home building stuff and the customization stuff because that's not scary or violent.
Sure.
And then when the kids go to bed, he goes ghoul hunting or goes fights Deathclaws or whatever. And
Ghoul
like
hunting.
this is a game that
like
really
that.
we keep saying like that whole thing about it doesn't respect your time. Maybe it is just respects your time differently. You know,
Yeah.
and it's kind of an understanding that it's going to be buggy and that are those part of the challenge? Is
Right.
that almost kind of this is a game about a broken universe? You know,
Yeah.
like it's. I'm not going to give him that much credit, but like, I don't know. I went into the game, I popped in, and I played a few hours, and I think what I did was I looked at just what I was doing, and I was like, do I want to be doing this for another 20 hours, another 60, 100 hours? Like, where will I be in terms of my enjoyment level? Will this get better or worse? And I think after playing so many big games that we got this year, like I played a dozen hours of Arkham. I don't even know how many hours of The Witcher. And I played like, I think 90 hours of Metal Gear.
Same.
That's a lot of time spent in not real life.
Yeah.
And like, that's not to say that video games are bad, but like, this is, if you're trying to play more than one game, this is a bad game to try and play at the same time.
Yeah.
And when Skyrim and when Fallout 3 came out, we didn't have this kind of breadth of big games.
Yeah.
So.
And that's not to say that it's like completely without merit. Like I do think that there are systems in that game that work wonderfully, and I do think that there are plenty of people out there that will play the game to its fullest extent and have a great time with it. I'm just simply saying that it's not a game for me.
To counter Max, I still feel like, despite my grievances with this game, that it is the desert island game of 2015.
Oh, easy.
Like
Totally.
if you can only buy one game this year, or you want one game this year that you are going to get just the most out of.
If you're stuck in a vault.
If you're stuck in a vault, you play Fallout.
For that.
That's the kind of thing. And I don't know, I want to get out of the vault, and I want to play Battlefront and Tomb Raider and a bunch of other things. So I'm okay with doing the same thing you guys did, which is sort of unplugging and walking away. Ultimately understanding who it's for and that maybe I'm not that guy anymore.
Yeah.
Not enjoying Fallout 4 felt like that South Park episode where Stan turns 10 or whatever. And he's he stops enjoying all his favorite stuff and he's like, what's wrong with me? And it's like, people change, you know?
So you're
Still a
done,
cool game.
you're never going back, even
I'm
DLC
out.
or anything
I'm
like
out.
that?
There's no way that I could convince myself to reinvest the 20 hours that I spent to get to that point.
Right.
You know, like I just don't, I don't have that kind of time. And B, it's just not interesting.
Just not
to
for
me.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I got to
Thank
get
you
back
very
to
much,
producing
Zach.
this show.
All right,
This
get
thing
off our
went really
stage.
long.
Get back
See you
out
guys.
there. I need you over on the side shaking your head at me every time I say something horrible.